Okay, well, several people have asked for a boat tour, so let's do it. So this is my boat Thabo. It's a 2001 Montgomery 17 built by North Sea Yachts, Bob Egg. The earlier ones were built at the Montgomery factory, and I think that there's certain things that were better about those boats than this one, but I've been pretty happy with it. So I got a CDI roller furler for my jib, which is great. It takes a little longer to set up when trailer sailing, but for cruising for a week, it's well worth it. Up the mast, I've got a combination foredeck light and steaming light. I want to replace that because it took 14% of my battery in one night just to run the steaming light as an anchor light. I've got the front hatch. It opens backwards, which means it won't flip up when you're trailering. There's a lot of people turn them around, but I haven't really found the need to do that. So let's see, connections for removable connection for power there. This is my solar panel, which I want to do something more permanent, but basically that will add a couple of percent of battery per day. I just plug it into the car charger. There's an accessory, a cigarette lighter. So I just plug it in there and it back feeds power in and charges the battery. Flat fenders, those are, I think they're tailor-made, but those are great because they're great for rafting. They don't ride up on the dock, and then they double as seat cushions. My coffee mug, which I made this year, it's just a ceramic, but I filled the bottom in with body filler and then epoxied a piece of neoprene so it's wide, flat, and it won't skid around. Okay. The purple thing is my seat cushion. It's just an office chair anti-fatigue mat. I just take the black cloth covering over them, off of them. I like those. Keeps your butt dry if the cockpit's wet, and they're really comfortable and they don't skid. Ruddercraft tiller, so it's got a gas shock on it, and so I can just pull this line and it goes up, and then I pull the line and it goes down. This is for the mast raising and lowering. I'll show that when it's on the it's actually on the trailer. I've got a tiller clutch here, so pop it down and it locks it in place so you can go up and it's free and it'll move. I've got these jam cleats that run the line for it. That allows me to pop it off, so if I need to raise the tiller for standing up while steering, I do that. Over here, that's for my auto tiller, so this piece comes off. Just unscrew it and then I stow it, but that's where the auto tiller goes. I got a 5 horse 4-stroke Honda that I bought maybe 2 years ago. It's got a long shaft, so that helps. I've got 2 places on my motor mount where I can make it lower if I'm in heavier seas, but with the long shaft I really only need to use the first one and I never have to go deeper. Fuel line comes in through the transom, and this is my lazarette with all my explosives. So I store my auto tiller in there. I keep some extras of jet oil fuel, camp fuel, and then I've got back here fuel bottles filled with kerosene lamp oil and alcohol for my stove. Got 1 extra quart of just petrol, emergency backup. 3-gallon tank. I replaced the cap with one that vents because the one that I had, they don't vent as they come now, so it would expand and it got stuck in here, so I had to replace that. an extra 3-gallon tank here. And then I make sure that that's filled up, so if I were to run out in somewhere that was dangerous, I can just flick it over from fuel line to the inbuilt tank, and then I have fuel right away. Oh, one more thing down here. You can see that these are my scuppers. I've replaced the lines that are in here. So there's just a couple of tubes that go out the transom, and these are some check valves. I replaced the hoses and the check valves. It still doesn't work very well, so I think I'm going to replace that with some other device I haven't figured out yet. So that's my lazarette full of explosives. All right, here I've got my backstay adjuster. I just had a stainless steel ring and some of these wire blocks, and so I've got a 4-to-1 purchase on here, so when I'm sailing upwind I can tune the rig a little tighter and then let it loose otherwise. Okay. Starboard side locker is a shallow locker. I just keep things like my self-steering gear, winch handle, sham wows, a couple of lines. This is my block for putting up and taking down the mast, and then some scrubbies for doing dishes. Oh, port side locker is locked. The port side is a wet locker, and I've got this cam cleat with a line on it, so this will keep it closed. If I were to take a bunch of water or flip the boat over and this was open, the water would fill in through here because it's not sealed off. So if I'm in heavy seas, I make sure that I keep this closed, and then I can unlock it just by pulling on the cam cleat. Back here is just a rope bag, extra sheets, reefing lines, shock cord, the like. This was a sewing project I did early on, just made out of duck cloth. Empty sail bag and a sail cover back there. Another sailing project, or sewing project, another sewing project. This is just keeps my main sheet from hanging out in the bottom of the boat. Over there is the connection for power for the auto tiller. So in my port side locker from the back, I've got boat hook, bilge pump. I've got a bag with 50-foot and a 25-foot extension cord with connections at both ends for shore power, and they're just regular extension cords. I have the marine ones, but they take up so much room I don't like them. I've got 2 grocery bags here. Each of them has 150 feet of line and 15 feet of chain on it with a shackle, and I just tie the end of the rope to the handle, and those are my anchor lines. I also used one for a shoreline. I've got my Danforth anchor here. That's for the North Channel. I use this because it's pretty much all you need. I've got a Mantis M2 anchor down there. That's a big one. It's a storm. That's my storm anchor, and it folds down flat. And a swim ladder. Here, let me give you a shot of that. Let me pull some of this out. So that's my Mantis M2. So this folds flat. I made a little plywood sled so I can basically it keeps it down and folds flat and keeps everything in place as I need it. Got a little wrench for taking it apart and putting it back together. This is my collapsible swim ladder, which I basically hate. It's caused a lot of bruises, but gets the job done for now, so I'll probably put a permanent swim ladder in at some point. Collapsible bucket for lots of uses: cockpit baths, washing the dishes, washing the boat down, that sort of thing. Okay, this is a centerboard pennant, up and down, pretty basic, except the way that the tube for the line comes up at an angle, so it'll spray water. So I've gotten these rubber stoppers, drilled holes in them just for the size of the line, and then when I let it down, it just jams in there. Works great to keep water out of the boat. I built doors this year, and I really like them. Having hatch boards around is kind of irritating. You got to take them in and out, and you can't close them or open them. The only thing a little irritating is the fact that all my lines lead aft here. That's the main halyard and the jib furler, and so this gets in a little bit in the way when I'm doing that. Cheap portals, those are like $30, but they're doing the job. There's my map tattoo. More on that otherwise, but I've used that for about 95 or more % of all of the navigation that I've done on this trip. I absolutely love it. Cannot recommend it enough. It's got quad lock on it, quad lock mounting. So I have a mount here for when both the doors are shut, and another one up there. My phone, my iPad, and the map tattoo all have the quad lock mounts on them, so I can rearrange them however I want. This is a mount for my jet boil stove. Also works for, I've got two lanterns that works for as well, so I can use that to have light in the cockpit, which I rarely, if ever, I've done it like once, but really useful for having the stove out here to cook outside with. The bungee cords that are on here are I just wrap them around my the handles on the cabin top, and keeps the doors open if I'm sailing in heavy seas. The latch up here keeps the hatch from sliding open when I'm trailering. These portals have a little weep at the bottom, so water builds up in here and comes out. There still gets a little bit in here, but it's not too bad. I got a Plastimo mini contest compass, which I replaced, I don't know, a year ago, 2 years ago, I don't know, 3 years ago, several years ago. This one's great. I would have gone with something a little bit bigger where you can see it from both the cockpit and from the cabin, but I like the size of this one. I just put this on. When I put the doors on, there was a hook here that I could hang lines on for my main halyard and jib furler, but I had to remove that, so I used this little bag as bulkhead, and it's working out okay. It's kind of soft, so I can lean against it with this door closed and sit in the cockpit. On this side, I got a depth finder, and the transponder's epoxied into the bilge ahead of the keel. On the top here, another sewing project. I used some sunscreen, bug screen. It does a lot of things actually. So with the hatch boards a little bit closed, it just kind of hangs here, and it works great. If the doors are closed, I can open the portals, and then it screens those closed. Otherwise, in bright sun, this just takes some of the sun out, like about 50%. So it works both as bug and sunscreen. If you want to be in the cabin, still get air, and stay cool. All right, inside the cabin now. This is the port side. So starting up here, this is the back side of the depth finder. Fire extinguisher, another sewing project. I keep battery packs in here, and those will charge my portable devices throughout the day. I can drop a phone in here, a couple extra cords in there. My Zoleo, which is necessary. Well, not totally necessary, but I like to use it. It's a satellite communication, so I can text home. People can track me, and then you press the button to just let everybody know you're okay. Terminal block up here for a couple of things. One is powering the depth finder, and then I've got a cord that comes over here, and that powers the light on the compass. And then the other thing that it powers is I've got an ICOM handheld that's got AIS receiver on it. I hate it. We'll replace it with I've replaced it 4 times, and it's still the most annoying thing to have. The most annoying thing about it is that if you get an AIS alert, You have to press a button. You can't silence it, which is really irritating if you've got an AIS beacon you're heading towards. It just sits there and chirps at you all the time. Back here, I've got a ledge that goes back, and this is, I keep boat title and things like that I need. A bunch of manuals in a Ziploc bag for the motor and other things. I've got a Great Lakes guide and my log, which has got all my numbers, and I try to write it, but I forget it. Tried to write things in it, but I forget. Another sewing project. This is just full of charger cables for portable electronics. I put these blocks in for shock cord so that I can keep things in here. Got a couple of books, keep my iPad, passport, that sort of thing. Let's see what books we got today. Obviously, RKJ is A World of My Own. The Living Great Lakes. This is an interesting book about a guy that sailed the Great Lakes on a schooner, and those Snake Island Kids, which I haven't read yet, but was recommended by Small Craft Tasmania. When I got to Gore Bay, Suzanne made me a little care package with some local candy and all the phone numbers for the marina and that sort of thing. Wi-Fi passwords. Good to have local friends. And under here, just a couple blocks that hold up the wire that goes back down to the electric panel to get up to this terminal block. So this is not a full berth, it's like a 3/4 berth, but you can put a cushion against here and sit down and read. I like to do that sometimes. It works on either side of the boat. Under here, let's see what we got. Okay, so I got a locker under here. In here, I've got, it's pretty big. I put scotch, beer. I drink IPAs because they taste okay warm. And booze, juices, and these are my quick lunches and breakfast. So just a Ziploc bag full of packets of oatmeal, Ziploc bag full of packets of Easy Mac. I can make either one of those in the jet boil. Boxes of wine and things like that. I try to buy everything in these boxes. These, I forget what they call them, but they fold down really flat, so you don't have to carry a bunch of garbage with you. Space, once you use things, is pretty irritating to give up for garbage. Okay, this is the port side V-berth. I've got these little sail pockets that I made. Just this year I put permanent mounting for them. A couple of headlamps in here. Little flamethrower. Matches, lighters. A torch that I use as a spotlight if I need to. Air horn and a rescue beacon. Under here I've got my whisker pole, which I just epoxied up some of those little blocks and put those rings on, and then it just clips in. It's been very useful to keep it off of the deck. Up here I've got another project. It's like a soft shelf, I guess. I can just push it out of the way, and then I can bring it forward. If I need to get to stuff, I keep just a couple of clothes and my sleeping bag and a pillow in there. And it just Dyneema lines, and then I just have them rigged to a point right at the end of the V-berth that I drilled in. I've replaced some of the nuts in here with these rings that work as nuts as well, so I can sling things all over the place if I need to. This is a lee cloth. Just keeps if I've got bags and stuff, it just keeps them from sliding around the V-berth when we're at sea. On the starboard side, another one of these rings, and then ever needed sunscreen, dish soap, hand soap, DEET, lots of DEET. Main cabin light, that's got 2 LEDs in it. I rewired it so that one of them is red and one of them is white. which is really useful for keeping bugs out. On the compression post, I made this little block thing that I can tighten up and move around, but it's got a hook. That's where I throw my foulies if I need to dry them off. And then on the other side, I've got the same mounting that I use for my jet boil. But I had a buddy make these on a 3D printer with a bolt through. Oops, that's still on. Okay, now it's off. This is a Furehand Super Baby 175. It's one of my favorite pieces of kit. I just bent some yokes out of brass, and it's just a gimbaled lantern. Some of the boat ones are $500 or $600. I bought that for, I think they're hard to find, but because it's such a tiny one. That's my hand next to it. But I run that at night, and it just keeps the inside of the cabin dry and gives you a little bit of light. You don't need to use any battery for it, so I love it. One of my favorite pieces of gear. Okay, here's the port side locker. This carries my electronics package, really. So I've got just a lead acid battery that I want to replace with a LiPo 4 at some point. What do I have here? It's a Pro Sport HD charger. So that's my shore power charger. I had to replace that just before Isle Royale. The one that was in here melted. In here I've got, a shunt. And then I've got a Furehand 276, which is a larger lantern. I did the same thing with the yoke and everything. I don't use that much. This is my camping gear stove. It's a camping gear little guy. Not difficult. This part goes inside when you don't have a canister in it. It's got a little handle here, and then it can be used as a heater, or you can take this off and then it's just a stove that runs off jet boil fuel, or you can do both. If you keep the top closed, then it's just a heater. If you open it up, then it's a heater and a stove. So don't use it that much, but on a beach or something like that, pretty useful. I did use it before I had my heat pal thing. I'll show you that in a minute. Before I had that to give a little heat in the cabin here. Also in here, keep a backup radio. Just a backup handheld. And this is where I store my solar panel when I'm not using it. It's my life jacket, since I'm at dock, is just in its mesh thing. And then Luminade inflatable solar powered lantern. I've used that as an anchor light once I figured out how much power that steaming light was using. So I just hang it from anything. Okay, so this is looking aft. These are obviously the doors to the cockpit. This is generally where I hang my jet boil. And then down here I've got two. I built this one this year, a galley box, and then I screwed up the one for this side, so I still got the plastic bin. On the plastic bin side, going from back to front, I've got a first aid kit, distress flags, a cribbage board, some dice, a couple of dry bags, microfiber towel, wash rag, hand towel. These are great. They dry out really fast, and they don't stink. They're for like yoga or something. They weren't very expensive. I've got 2 sets of these Yuko. It's a bowl and plate, but they have these rubber things on them, so they're non-skid, and they clean up really nicely. What else I got in here? Tobacco, garbage bags, Ziploc bags, thermocell that runs off of jet boil fuel, the isobutane. So this is great to drop it in the cockpit and try to keep the bugs away. Dop kit for going ashore and getting cleaned up. Tripod / selfie stick. This is a bench hook I made, which I use. It can either be a workbench or I can put a cutting board on there. And the way that it's built will slide right onto the edge. Here. So it just slides right on the edge of, on the lee side, and just sits there, and you can use it as a work surface. Learned that from woodworking. These are part of my, I don't know, the old hatch boards. I made those out of. In here is a bag that used to hold my Origo before I lost it over the side. I've got a small pot, and then this year I bought a little cast iron pan, and I cut the handle off of it. So that's great. With the alcohol stove, then it keeps it at the right temperature. Okay, tins for soft drinks. In here I've got powdered Gatorade, root beer, you know, Arnold Palmer's, that sort of thing. Tea with honey, they're okay. In the tea, I've got tea bags and instant coffee, and then coffee, cream and sugar packets. Those are liquid. I don't like the dry ones. On the galley box side, right now, this is my daily water, so I fill that up every morning. This is another water jug. I think I got it from Duckworks, but this is really useful. It's you pressurize it, and then it's got a spray nozzle on it. So I use that for rinsing off dishes. It keeps you cool. You can spray yourself, and it keeps you cool on a hot day. So like that. Empty gallon of water. On the galley box side, this has to come all the way out. So on the galley box side, coconut water. This is my garbage can. And then I keep a couple little snacks in here too, and paper towels. And this compartment and this compartment swap. So if I needed the gimbaled stove or the heater, I can just drop it into these grooves that I made. I just put some little screws on there, and it just sits there and swings. Storage for my jet boil stove and the jet boil canister. Ghee instead of butter, because it doesn't go rancid. Mustard, salt and pepper. My final press. So this is how I'm making coffee. It's a little French press. And then an extra plastic mug and some of the other things for my jet boil. In here is utensils, so ceramic knives. They don't rust, you don't need to sharpen them. Can opener, ceramic scissors, pencils, forks, spoons, that sort of thing. And that slides all the way back, so it's covered if it's raining. But usually I have it a little bit out, just to get stuff easier to get to. And then my oriental rug. Okay. On this side, dirty clothes. And then these are my clean clothes. I keep these in a dry bag that's got a window on it. It makes it easier to find stuff, and it keeps them dry. This is Bluetooth speaker / weather radio, emergency radio, solar powered, hand powered, I don't know. You know, it does all the things. I keep a little bag with tools right here. It's got pliers and screwdrivers and things like that for things you might need, like the anchor. That's the bag for the microphone I'm using. Back here, I've got another tripod thingy, some potato chips, and toilet paper. This is a full berth. I use it, it's basically a pilot berth for me, so I use it when I'm sailing. Because of the way that it's built, I'm not going to roll over. But that's the wet locker, and it's not there's not a lot of room in there. So if you're a bigger guy, you probably have some problems. Way in the back, I've got my bag with my pack raft. I've got the paddles back there, and I've got a little pup tent and sleeping, like a bed mat. So if I'm camping, I can just bring everything on shore. I've only done that like once. Also back in here, don't know if you can see it, just a bunch of life jackets, big, you know, whatever, Coast Guard regulated life jackets. So if I need to get to those, I can pull either side of this out. A couple pillows that I made out of duck cloth. I use these 3M mounting, oh look, a fish fly. I use these 3M mounting hooks to figure out where I want to put stuff, and then I add permanent mounting in later. A couple of pairs of sunglasses. These are my shocks, so bone conduction headphones, so I can listen to books and stuff. Place to hang the hat, you know. A mirror, so I can see myself. What else we got in here? Mounting, so I've got the 3M pads or 3M hooks, that sort of thing in there. Drill and saw, so drill bits, and a little hand saw that works on both metal and wood. A little Fisker thing that came in handy when I was in Royale. Small electric drill, battery drill. Hardware, random hardware. Hand tools, so lots more hand tools, pliers, side cutters, the like. Wrenches. Back there I've got a tarp that I used as like a bimini, a little extra duck cloth, tool, some extra screen and things like that. This is my Hydro Blue VersaFlow, so I make water with this. It's got these two little canteens, and I just fill one with lake water and then attach them together with this filter, and it just drains into the other one. So super easy, makes about 1/3 of a gallon at a time. All right, sewing. Epoxy and lubricants. And electrical. So I think that's it. Oh, and then I've got a bag with a sanding block and some more of those mahogany blocks that I use for mounting stuff all over. So pretty much could continue to work on the boat wherever I go. Starboard side locker. This is where the dirty bits happen. I've got this is my toilet, and then inside I've got a little organizer for toilet paper, portable bidets, air freshener. I use wag bags and these eco-gel packets. So you put a bag in here, throw the gel in there. It makes everything solid. It's also just like a weird 3.5 gallon bucket. I've got this little stool that I use as a table, folding. That's where the wag bag storage is. This is where I keep cruising boots and shoes and stuff when I'm not using them. And then back here is my secret weapon. So I've got this waterproof case, and I keep 6 of these, I think they're 20,000 milliamp hour battery packs for powering portables, so I don't have to use my house battery to charge portables. And then I've got this USB charger, big USB charger. So this just plugs into shore power. I've got an outlet here that I use for that. So just plug that in, and it'll charge them up in all of them in maybe less than 6 hours. You can see the ones that are not attached are ones I've used. So I've got one left after basically 7 days of sailing, and I really don't need the iPad, and that's what sucks down most of the power. So I probably will use less in the future. You can see one is missing. That one just sits in that bag or in this pouch, and gives me daily access. So I'll change this out, change that out every day or two, depending upon how much power is left in it. Okay, on this side of the boat, just got a duffel bag with my fowlies in it. All the way forward, this is my provision. So I keep 4 of these like little cloth cubes for food, and I kind of organize them by breakfast and snacks, dinners, and then perishables in one of them. And then up there, I've got my spinnaker in a bag that's similar to the rope bag that I had. Keep an extra gallon of water in here, and that's the transducer for my depth finder. These things aren't great, but they are fairly useful, and they keep things organized until I find a better way to do it. The only other thing to talk about is the electronics package. So this is the 12-volt main that I replaced because they had one of these, but it was out, so it would always break off. So master switch, that's in the on position. What is that? That's really weird. So this is the 12-volt panel. So main cabin light master, running lights. I put LED running lights fore and aft. The steaming light, that's the one that I used as an anchor, but it took like 14% off the battery in one day, so stopped using that. Foredeck light, I rarely use that, but if you're sailing in the dark and you need to go forward and work on something, I had to work on the foredeck light, or on the bow light, and so that was useful for that. Accessory, that runs this power to this cigarette lighter, which I have, one of those adapters that comes to USB, so if I need to charge something off of the house battery instead, I do that. This is the power for the autopilot, and then sailing instruments is the one that feeds this terminal block up here. On the high voltage side, I've got my AC main, which comes from my shore power, and this will engage the battery charger for charging the battery from shore power. I've got this, I don't know what it is, Line X. This is my battery meter, so added that in, and that's really useful to see what's drawing what and when you're charging from solar. And then 120 volt, that's what runs off my AC main here. So that's pretty much it. I left this plaque on here. I think this was the original boat placard. So my understanding is that this boat was bought by somebody in New Jersey. He kept it on the ocean, and then I bought it from some people in Minneapolis. All right, a couple of things I did to my trailer to make it better. One, I've got this monstrous extension. I don't know, 8 or 10 foot extension, so I'm going to drop that. The water's pretty low. And then these bunks had 6-inch boards on them, and they were, the keel, when I was pulling out, the keel would get jammed up on top of it. It was really hard, so I made these into 12-inch boards, and I haven't had a problem since. All right, got the extension on. Just block the wheels, unhook the trailer, move the car, pull the tongue out, and then rehook it back up. So here's the Ruddercraft extender. There's a pole inside that comes all the way out and basically gives me 12 feet of vertical. And I just removed that pole for sailing. So that's it. Pretty much about as thorough as you can get, I guess. And hopefully that's interesting for some people. I'm sure not for everybody, but that's the way it goes with these. Things I like about the boat. I love the way it sails. It's fast for its size. Makes people confused when I pass them in larger boats. It sails really flat. So usually when you get any kind of wind, it'll heel over to about 10 or 15 degrees and just sit there. So it's really comfortable. You're not always sailing with the rail in the water. I like the lap strake. Keeps the boat dry, so as waves crash against the side, the lap strake kind of pushes the waves out, and that's been really nice. Even in larger seas, I was surprised that I wasn't taking more water over the side. Things I don't like, obviously it's small. You can't stand up in here, not even close. There's enough room. I've sailed with one other person. I don't think 3 would be a good idea. But I sleep in the pilot berth if I've got somebody on board, and give them the V berth. Usually they'll sleep on the port side, and I'll sleep on the starboard side. Otherwise, I sleep here at an anchorage or a dock. I'll sleep in the V berth. That's about it. I mean, yeah. So I can trailer this thing all over. I can set it up by myself. I can bring it in by myself, and that's what I was really going for. I think there are easier boats to set up and tear down. This takes me like an hour and a half to get in the water, just with the roller furler, and the mast raising is okay, but they're better. Like Compact has the folding tabernacle, that would make it a lot easier. Something like that would be useful. Other things that I don't like about the boat, there are things that I'm finding. Like I said, I think the boat builder cut some corners. Um, Compared to the Montgomerys, the Montgomery one. So I had a problem with my compression post. I've got a video about that. I lost the center board because that wasn't designed right. I rectified that and put that in. I chose one of the newer boats because I think the older ones have problems with the center board. Frankly, you don't really need the center board. It's good for negating leeway when you're sailing upwind, but it doesn't add much for stability, just for like really directional. So, but some of the older ones had problems where they had steel weight in the center board, and that would start to rust and then expand, and you get it stuck inside the center board. So I wanted to avoid those. I went with this one because it was newer, had a lot of the electronics and stuff already in it that I knew I was going to put in it anyway. I think I paid too much money for it. I think I paid 11 or 12,000. You can find some of the older ones for 8,000, but they're really hard to find. People that have them don't give them up. So I don't know if I would change. I'm in no position to. I don't really want to change boats at this point. It's sort of my, it's my project to just make it kind of homey and useful. And the other thing about small boat life is you're always kind of I don't know, stepping over yourself. So if I wanted to do one activity, I've got to stop what I'm doing, put that away, and then start the other activity. So um, if I wanted to get into two, you can't really get into two lockers at the same time. It just makes it difficult just because it's such a small boat. It's the smallest boat in any harbor, and it draws attention. I thought people were trying to run me down, or they didn't understand the rules of navigation in places like Bayfin and some of the other places. People come right at me. Um, and I think it's because the boat gets attention and people want to comment on it or see it or things like that. People are always yelling at me, nice boat, or, it draws attention. I think not just because it's the smallest boat, but it is cute. It's a lap strike boat, and it's fairly unique. So that about does it that's the boat tour. Anyway, hope you enjoyed it. Hope it was useful.